What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We continue our look at the top 10 games from each week of the upcoming 2023 college football season. Going to week 12 here, so this is the last week before you get to rivalry weekend. The playoff race is really heating up. There's one obvious game for number one here, and then after that, there's a lot of good games, but not many like great games that have potential to be top 10 matchups. So yeah, it's kind of hard to pick the 10 games from this week because again, there are a lot of good games, a lot of games that could be really important in conference races and things like that. But like I said, one really big game which we'll get to. But we'll start at number 10. Nebraska at Wisconsin. You wonder if Nebraska will still be in the race in the Big Ten West. Hard to say. You know, I just don't know what to expect from this team. I think they have potential to still be in the conference race, but they also have potential to be out of it by this point. I think Wisconsin will definitely still be in the race. So this is potentially a pretty big game in the Big Ten West. But like I said, a lot of games like this, games that you're not sure if they're going to be huge games or not. They have potential to be, but then they also have potential to be games that really maybe aren't all that big. But I think this one could be interesting. I got Nebraska, Wisconsin here at number 10. Number 9, kind of a similar story here. Baylor at TCU. I feel like TCU will still be in the Big 12 race here with 2 games to go. Maybe they're not in the top 2 at this point. Maybe they are. Who knows? But I think they're definitely going to be in the race. Is Baylor still going to be in the race? That'll be interesting. I think there are some people out there that believe Baylor is a contender in the Big 12 this year and really expect them to bounce back this year. I think they're going to be pretty good. They're not on my list of top contenders in the Big 12, but there's potential there. And with still 2 games to go, you never know. Maybe they're in that race with 2 or 3 losses. We could see a 3-loss team easily get into the Big 12 championship just because this conference is so wide open and there's so much parity. But this could be a big one in the Big 12. Baylor at TCU coming in at number 9. Let's go to number 8 now. Louisville at Miami. So there's Clemson, and then there's Florida State, maybe North Carolina, but behind those 3 teams, I think Louisville and Miami are the next in line to potentially make a run at the ACC championship. Louisville has a really favorable schedule. Miami has a lot of talent on their roster. So these are 2 good teams in the ACC, 2 teams that I think have potential to be top 25 teams this year. And this, again, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe Florida State, Clemson, they've already kind of filled those spots in the ACC championship. Maybe North Carolina is still ahead of these teams. I don't know how it's going to go, but there's potential for this game to maybe mean something. And if nothing else, maybe it's just a top 25 matchup between two pretty good teams in the ACC. Louisville at Miami at number 8. Let's go to number 7 now. Kansas State at Kansas. Rivalry matchup here. I think both of these teams are still going to be in the Big 12 race at this point. I know some people might laugh at that when I say that about Kansas, but I really feel like Kansas is going to be a good team this year. I really like their roster and what they have coming back. Kansas State, I think, definitely is going to be in the running at this point. Of course, I've got Kansas State having a really good year. I've got both these teams having good years. I think this could be potentially a top 25 matchup. Plus, you look at the fact that it's a rivalry game. This is a big one here in the Big 12. Number 7, Kansas State at Kansas. Let's go to number 6 now. Michigan at Maryland. A lot of people think this could be a game where Michigan potentially slips up. The Maryland game last year was not a complete blowout. Michigan had to play pretty well to win that game. And now you go on the road right before Ohio State. It's just, there's a lot of potential for a trap game here for Michigan. I think they're going to be good enough to take care of business there, but it's definitely one worth watching. At number 6, Michigan at Maryland, Big Ten East matchup. Number 5, UCLA at USC. We'll go to the Pac-12 for this one. UCLA is really intriguing to me. I look at this roster, and overall, they've got a pretty good roster. At the quarterback position, they don't have a proven guy there, and it's very interesting to see who winds up winning the job. It will be the big-time freshman coming in, the transfer, the guy who's been there. I mean, they've got several different options. But around them, again, they've got a lot of talent. They added some nice pieces in the transfer portal. I think that this UCLA team has a chance to be pretty good. They have potential to maybe even be a dark horse in the Pac-12. USC, obviously one of the favorites in the Pac-12. And so it's a game that maybe USC wins easily, or it's a game that UCLA could possibly make very interesting. And again, maybe they're still in the Pac-12 race at this time. We'll see. But I do think this will be a big game in the Pac-12. UCLA at USC coming in at number 5. Number 4, UCF at Texas Tech. I think both of these teams will both still be in the race in the Big 12. I really like this UCF team. I've talked about it. I know I repeat myself a lot, but UCF, Kansas, two teams that I think have a chance to be right there in the thick of things in the Big 12. I think both of those teams are going to be good this year. And Texas Tech, I think most people agree they're going to be a contender in the Big 12. So this is a big-time matchup here. UCF, Texas Tech, number 4. And now we'll go to number 3. Washington at Oregon State. This is a big-time potential upset-type game for Oregon State playing at home. You got Washington, who I think will probably still be in the playoff race at this point. Maybe they've got a loss, but still alive in that playoff race. Maybe we'll see. They've got a pretty tough schedule. Everyone in the Pac-12 has a tough schedule because these teams at the top all have to play each other. But this has potential to be a really good game. Washington, Oregon State coming in at number 3. We'll go to number 2 now. North Carolina and Clemson. A big one in the ACC. If North Carolina is going to sneak into that conference championship game, they might need to win this one. Maybe they don't need to win it. We'll see. But if they could knock off Clemson, that will go a long ways. Or maybe it doesn't matter. If North Carolina loses one game and they beat Clemson, they're pretty much, I would say, they are guaranteed to get into the ACC championship. I don't know if they're going to be quite that high, but we'll see. This, again, though, is a huge game in the ACC. You got Florida State in there. Just talked about Miami, Louisville. Winner of this one has a real shot to get to the ACC championship. Clemson, I think most people expect to be right there. But number 1, we'll go to Georgia, Tennessee. Obvious choice here. I think Tennessee will go into this game either undefeated or with 1 loss. I think Georgia will probably be undefeated in this game. I would say I feel pretty confident in saying that these two teams will both be undefeated or have 1 loss. Tennessee could have 2. They do have some tough games before this. But it's a game that probably decides the SEC East, maybe more than that. It's clearly going to be the game of the week in Week 12. Georgia, Tennessee. Can't wait to watch this one. So those are the top 10 games for Week 12. We got 1 more week left. We'll look at the top 10 games for Rivalry Weekend, Week 13, coming up next Saturday.